Steadily it rises.
Hey, it's ODB back with another video. Going to recap the Lincoln Continental sales from Mecum Kissimmee 2024. You can see here I'm on Mecum's website. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I cover a lot of these auctions, including typically individual, what I call reviews of these listings, whether it be Bring a Trailer, Mecum, Barrett Jackson. And of course, I'll be ramping up here soon for Barrett Jackson for their event coming up in Arizona every January. But this event here was a week and a half, 2 week kind of lead up with everything commencing here in Kissimmee. Had a buddy that ended up going over. I wasn't able to make it. I did a quick preview to show everyone basically what was coming up. And what I want to do is kind of start down here at the bottom. Now, I'm not going to cover the 60s. Of course, 60 is a different model, not typically what I cover, but you can see here some pretty strong prices. You'll see as I kind of scroll through. Here we have a 65 Lincoln Continental Convertible. This one, I believe, when I did the preview, had already sold. And of course, I do believe this $70,400 price does include the fee, at least one part of the fee. If you don't know, there are fees associated with selling and or buying at many of these auctions, but pretty strong price, I would say, for a factory Lincoln Continental. We've seen some different prices across the board. Sometimes you'll see these cars sell for less, but this one obviously is 65, very desirable. It's black, triple black rather, black interior, black top. Now, it's kind of ironic when they say frame on restoration. As many of you know, these are unibody cars, so there's no frame, but that's typically a term that you often hear people say, frame on or frame off, kind of trying to reference how much work went into it. But again, just really not too applicable on these cars. Here is a 64, which is a super desirable year. I really dig this car. It sold for $47,300. Now, I did have a few people reach out to me to kind of say some of the cars that were there, especially these Lincolns, they said exactly what I always try to reinforce to folks. And I'm not saying this car in particular, I'm saying just in general. They said, a few of the cars weren't as nice as they appeared in photos. This one you can kind of see here, a little bit of the dinginess. Of course, sandblasting and painting the valve covers isn't too bad. You see the single pot reservoir here for the master. And, you just see a little bit of that kind of that grittiness, which again, if you follow this channel, I don't think is bad because it gives you the opportunity when you get the car to detail it and to do the things that you may want to, especially if it's like a father-son, father-daughter project or whatnot. But I think a good $47,300 for this one, not a perfect car, but certainly a car that you can get in and enjoy, and then it's got the potential. Now, speaking of a little custom, here is a 62 Lincoln Continental Convertible. This one sold for $57,000, as you can see, 43 photos. So I think Mecum has continued to ramp up, providing more photos, more detail. Not everyone's cup of tea, certainly with maybe the color and or in this case, the number one thing that sticks out are the wire wheels. Obviously, that's something that you can decide to change if that's not to your liking. Certainly some folks would like that, some wouldn't. You could see here, everything's not perfect in here with these pieces and whatnot, but, to have a carpet kit and things like that, we don't see that in every car. So, that's a nice thing. We can see here the cylinders or the rams and cylinders, they don't look fresh, so a lot of times you have to change these. And if you don't know, from 61 to 63, they did use brake fluid, if I remember correctly, in for the top mechanism. So a lot of times, John Cashman would say, and Blair Farmer as well, you have to do a full kind of flush and a full upgrade on the tops of these if they haven't been done. Again, 61 to 63. And then in 64, they started using the Type F fluid, which everybody uses now. I know there's some people that will contest that, but really Type F fluid is what you need. It's hard to see in that photo, but it didn't look perfect with that stuff. But a lot of times when you're going to get a car like this, you're going to use it until it stops working in terms of the top, and then of course you can go to the usual suspects. It's about $2,000 right now to buy just the parts to do the majority of the upgrade with the rams, the cylinders, the lines, things like that. So again, just something that stuck out to me there. The top may work flawlessly. We just don't know. That's why I always recommend, if you're looking to buy one of these cars, go see it in person. If you can somehow arrange a conversation with the individual, start the car up, and cycle the top, or you can see now they have some videos, so that's fantastic as well. 66 Lincoln Continental, again, we're starting to see some stronger prices out of these later models, the 66 through 69. Here was 28,000, and the bid goes on, meaning it did not sell. It did not hit the reserve. What we see as a standout here is the car is lowered. The car has the Detroit Steel Wheel Co. wheels, which are made in Detroit, clean under the hood, pretty solid underneath, and whatnot. It does have an airbag suspension, and that's what makes it, you can adjust it up and down. They were probably looking to get a little bit more from it, obviously, which is why it did not sell. Here we can see a 64 Lincoln Continental sedan, and this one went up to $12,000 bid. I'm surprised, 64 is a sought after year. When I had looked at this one prior, you can see some things about it, such as like this bumper end is really tweaked. There's some discoloration here. I don't want to go into a full review of this one. This is more of a recap. You can see the interior is not era specific in terms of the material that was used. You've got an aftermarket center console. Many of these things that can be remedied. This stuck out to me. You just see a bunch of wiring here that, again, you could rip this out, within an hour or two, no big deal, and kind of redo this and make it look factory. But a lot of these things are going to be turn-offs. You've got an aftermarket air cleaner, which I think are fantastic on other cars. They just don't look right on these, in my opinion. You've got your fuel lines not routed correctly. It is an AC car. It looks like a newer air conditioning compressor. It's got some things going for it, but I know, there's not a lot of photos of it. I think when folks started to maybe see this one in person, they just said, hey, it's a little rougher around the edges than we may had anticipated. If it had no rust, I would say, hey, that's a car that, again, you can kind of get it back to where you might want it to be. This one I followed pretty closely. I found the gentleman on Instagram. $66,000 for a 61 sedan, I think, is a very strong price. The standout here is Colorado Custom Wheels. They're one of our sponsors on Lincoln Addict Podcast. They make these replica Lincoln wheels that look just like the hubcaps. And of course, they're not going to go flying off like hubcaps would, but you can see obviously it's lower. It's got the air suspension, and for the most part, those were the upgrades. And typically with air suspension, you're going to have some stuff in the trunk. Setups now are even more hidden, if you will. This one obviously is kind of displayed with the AccuAir, but the stereo stuff here also stands out. You could change this up where it's more hidden, but a lot of folks want a kind of semi-resto mod. With this one, I think for 66 was a strong price for a sedan, but the customization, I think, put it over the top. This was the surprise for me. This, I believe, I think when I did the quick preview, I may have mentioned this. I believe this was an Ali Isotope car, if I remember correctly. It has custom bucket seats, which are something that we're continuing to see from Ali, that owns Isotope wheels, which are on this car. And this car went for almost $250,000. And I know a lot of people, kind of feel like the aftermarket / customized Lincolns, aren't their thing. I totally get it. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find a non-over-the-top Lincoln factory that would sell for this much. Now, we know one did just in 2023, went for $280 at Gooding and Company. It was an over-the-top car. It had some crazy history and lineage. But like, you look at a car like this, and I do believe, again, this is Ali's original creation because, the door panels and some of the things that he does. But with this car, again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. It is customized. I think the other big thing is it has a GM drivetrain. Again, it's going to turn a lot of people off. I'm not even going to say some, but it has a solid drivetrain. It has air condition, all upgraded. It has a lot of things that people want, and someone that has the money, they're definitely going to splurge on it, and that's what they did. $242,000. Again, a very good price, and it kind of reinforces, in my opinion, oftentimes you can get more money out of a Lincoln if it's customized. Now, it's not a guarantee. We have seen people put more money into cars and lose money on a sale. But if they got this car at 120, 130, they almost doubled their money. So I don't recall exactly what it sold for in the past, but a strong sale. Here, we've seen this car before. This is a 64 Lincoln Continental Convertible. The standout here is you can see it's obviously customized. It doesn't have a crazy stance. It's not that typical factory stance. Certainly, it's a little bit higher than factory. This one with custom interior, it's red. It's a standout. You've got the tilt column, which we can see from right here on this indicator, the decoded digital gauges, which I understand not everyone likes. I totally get it. You've got a factory drivetrain. You can see here, this one looks way better than the other 64 sedan that we saw just a moment ago. Again, not 100% factory accurate. One of the other things is the Gorilla's painted black. Again, that's just going to be personal preference. But at the end of the day, this one it went for the bid goes on. It did not sell. It went to $90,000. So interesting there. But that's a recap of the Kissimmee 2024, as you can see here, filtered over to Lincoln Continental as it relates to the 60s Lincoln Continentals. And certainly appreciate all the support. If you want to check us out and want more content, check out Lincoln Addict podcast. You can find us however you listen to podcasts, including on an iPhone. Go to the pre-installed podcast app, select that purple icon and search Lincoln Addict, or you can go to lincolnaddict.com to find ways to listen. Thank you for the support. Stay on the rise, and let's have a great 2024.